That's for slapping that woman.
That woman was my wife.
That's for slapping your wife.
What's up, my movie people? I hope you're all doing well. Today, I'm reviewing A Working Man. Before I get into my thoughts, make sure you do leave a like as it is free to do so. And this one is directed by David Ayer, who most of you may know as the director of The Suicide Squad from many, many years ago. And sadly, I think he is on yet another decline with his movies because I think that this one can't even reach the same heights that The Beekeeper did. And The Beekeeper didn't even reach that amazing heights of, some great movies. I personally thought The Beekeeper was, an average movie. It was decent. I think it's a movie where you turn off your brain, it becomes, better, get some popcorn, watch it with your friends. It's considered, a good, fun, bad movie. So yeah, sadly, I think that this was worse than The Beekeeper. And I know some of you may disagree with that. I know a lot of people that think this is better than The Beekeeper, think it's worse. I don't think there's really an in-between there. And what's funny here is that it's basically the same film as The Beekeeper with a different job that Statham's playing. Because in The Beekeeper, he was a beekeeper. In this one, he plays a construction worker here. And he's literally a working man. And he must take down, an evil group of people after someone he knows gets kidnapped. And it's a movie made that you literally have to require to turn your brain off while watching it. And depending how you like your movies, that's either a good thing or a bad thing. I do want to say something funny about all three new movies I saw this weekend because they all have something in common. So I saw Death of the Unicorn, Woman in the Yard, and now this, and they all coincidentally are using the same dead parent trope because in each of these movies, one parent is not alive in any of them. It's either the mom or the dad that's passed away. And in this movie's case, it's the mom, and I get it, it's a pretty common trope that movies use, but to have all three new movies in the same day use the same trope was kind of hilarious because it either shows how lazy some of these movies writers have become or how it's just the biggest coincidence of all time. I just had a small laugh with that because I saw Death of a Unicorn first and it was like, the mom was dead. And I was like, oh, okay, that's common. Then I saw Woman in the Yard and the dad was dead in the family. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. We're doing it again. And then I saw this one the next day and then the mom's dead again. I'm like, what is going on? Why are we using the same trope in all these movies? I thought that was kind of funny. And another funny thing about this, I swear this is the first movie I've ever seen with a Tesla Cybertruck in it. There's just a shot of Jason Statham driving down the road and then that Cybertruck drives across from him, driving the other way, and it completely threw off my vibe. I was like, this feels too real, man. I feel like we're living in an alternate dimension. I was like, what's going on here? It took me out just a little bit, but I also thought it was extremely funny. Now for my positives, because as always, we must start nice even with the worst of movies. And with The Working Man, the man himself is the saving grace, Jason Statham. He kind of reminds me of Keanu Reeves, not only because they're actors that I both love, but I think they mostly do the same type of movies. They're both known for action movies. And something similar about them is that, they're usually the best parts of their respective movies. Even if they're in a bad movie, they can make it watchable themselves. I love them because of that. Also, I'm not trying to be rude here, but I think Statham plays like the same person in every single movie. Some examples of that is just him being in the Meg movies, Expendables movies, Expendables 4. He makes that watchable when it's almost just a completely unwatchable movie. He makes so many other movies better. Hobbs and Shaw, The Beekeeper, now this one. He just has that vibe to him when you're like, I'm vibing with him when he's on screen. And some of you may see this as a negative, but I just think Jason Statham is just an entertaining actor. But another funny thing is I can never remember what his characters' names are. I just call him Jason Statham. This movie review, I'm just going to call him Jason Statham. That's all I know him as. I'll never know the characters' names that he plays. It goes in one ear and then flies out another ear. Something else that I found nicely done about this one was the action in tone, and thank God for that because it's literally an action movie, and if the action was bad, then I would have to rate this movie like a 1 out of 10, but that's not the case here, as the action feels really hard-hitting and the entertainment value is truly relentless as it packs a huge punch with how people are being killed, and you never feel bad for them because, they kidnapped an innocent girl, so they're like true villains here. It's like the Russian mob and all that. I don't know what's going on here. It sometimes leans on the comic book side of action, but that didn't bother me too much because I always expected, that somewhat silly / serious tone. And that's what, David Ayer is known for. That's what he delivers here. And even though Ayer sometimes makes bad movies, he knows how to keep the action very hard hitting and makes some very fun ways for Statham to kick someone's ass. Now into the fun part where I discuss the negatives, and probably my biggest gripe that had me rolling my eyes when I watched this movie was the messed up storyline storyline and pacing, which I kind of just put together because if one of them was fixed, then I think both of them would have been fine-tuned and I wouldn't have an issue with either of them. And the problem is there's just far too much going on in this movie. It's actually impressive how overstuffed the plot is for such a, a simple description of the movie. A girl gets kidnapped. Jason Statham has to go find her, has to go capture her, has to go rescue her and all that. And as I said before, it's pretty simple. Jason Statham has to go rescue her. But the characters and villains in this movie just kept growing and growing and growing. And that led to an ending that had almost zero to no payoff because there's so much time and characters added that you forget who the main villain even was. I think you've cut out some of these characters that are just extremely paper thin, like they have no development. They just show up out of nowhere, and some of them have like zero acting capabilities. Like, I'm saying that myself and I've never acted in a movie, but I mean, some of them had just terrible line delivery. You would have had a better movie if some of these people were just not in it. I almost forgot to talk about this, but we also had David Harbour in this movie, of course known from Stranger Things, Black Widow. He's going to be in Thunderbolts, but he was in this movie and he basically got to do nothing at all. I was like, why do you cast David Harbour in this movie if he doesn't get to do anything? I would kind of wish he was the villain. He would have been such a better villain than who was cast as the villain. But David Harbour just plays a blind man who is friends with Jason Statham. They were in the war together, and Jason Statham just goes to his house and talk to him a lot. His daughter goes there to hang out with them. So yeah, David Harbour just gets to sit at home with his blind man glasses, which was really disappointing because you remember in John Wick 4, Donnie Yen played a blind man and he got to fight and really kick some people's ass. I was like, damn, Donnie Yen going in John Wick 4. David Harbour in this one just gets to sit back and give Jason Statham some guns. He doesn't get to fight anyone at all. I was like, come on, man. You cast David Harbour in here, not even get to throw some punches. I mean, I guess it's fine since we get to see him in Thunderbolts, but I thought that was another disappointing thing about this one. And for the pacing, as I said, they kind of fit together. I thought this one was just too long. It's like 2 minutes under 2 hours, which I feel like if you're going to add all this stuff, it just drags and drags and drags. The Beekeeper was almost 15 minutes shorter than this one. And I think that's another reason why I think this movie was worse than The Beekeeper. Overall, A Working Man is a disappointing entry from David Ayer as it's not as entertaining as his last movie, The Beekeeper. It has some fun moments, and that's mostly because of Jason Statham, as he has some great line delivery and his great fighting skills add a lot to the movie, but that's about it, as the story has just way too much going on in it for you to really care what's going on, and the cast of characters becomes so extremely large that you forget who even the main villain was. It would have been much better if you cut out most of those characters and if you just stuck to a simple plot with about 15 to 20 minutes cut from the movie. I'm going to give A Working Man a low 5 out of 10. If you did end up seeing the newest Jason Statham action movie, make sure to leave your own opinion down below in the comments. If you liked it, if you hated it, if you thought the same as me, all good. I love to hear those different opinions. Also, if you enjoyed this review, make sure to leave a like because it does help me out a lot. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.